Alright, so I find this whole thing about the Well of Eternity really interesting because it says that I'm sure there's more lore about this, but it talks about this Wall of Eternity bringing the energy from the dark void beyond, the gray beyond, or something like that. And I think that's how the demons found it in the lore of World of Warcraft. So this void of this dark void, this gray void, it's not an evil thing because this is, as it says in the lore, this is where life comes from. This is where, if you make creation, or I think in the game it's more like life force. But now, taking it beyond the lore, as I said, I do this research in altered states of consciousness, near-death experiences, psychedelic trips, so on and so forth. Everything that involves people going into a different frame set of existence and usually having very similar experiences, which involve them going into cosmic places or going into the realm of mushroom realm, whatever you want to call it. What they say is that in these realms, they meet beings who tell them about the reality of life, or they suddenly have this realization of the reality of life and whatnot. This is where people say they meet God, and so on and so forth, so on and so forth. But anyway, especially in near-death experiences, some really curious phenomenon that happens is that when people go out of body, first they go out of body experience, and they realize that they are not their bodies, and they can see the scenes around their deaths, and they can read the thoughts of everyone else and the feelings, and they move at the speed of thought, so on and so forth. They're having a full-on out-of-body experience. And then there's many ways in which these near-death experiences go. Sometimes they have a live review where they see and they re-experience a lot of their memories in different ways and from outside their bodies, from the perspective of other people, so on and so forth. Sometimes they go into what they call light, which offers them unconditional love and intelligence, and so on and so forth. Sometimes they meet beings of light, sometimes they see religious figures, so on and so forth. But a lot of the times they go into what they call a dark void. Specifically, they call it a dark velvety void. I don't mind, let's get closer here. So they call it a dark velvety void. It's like a dark void where a lot of people realize that they have passed, that they are no longer in the third dimension, that they no longer have a body. But instead of being afraid and instead of being thinking that there's nothing else and that's it, and that's eternity, looking into a black void, what they say about this black void is that they feel 100% at peace. And in this black void, they feel part of this extreme unconditional love that they feel when they are in the presence of the quote-unquote light. They literally say that they see a light, and the light talks to them, and the light is intelligent, and the light is everything, creation and more. And this happens also in the Nirvana, and some of the ancient religions talk about this. Even if you go into the Gnostic books, they literally say that God is a light. And then the priests were like, what are you talking about? That's stupid. So we're going to call your books heretic, and we're going to say they are apocryphal. So this is where you find the apocryphal books, and that's where Gnosticism comes from. Well, a part of Gnosticism. But anyway, so they talk about this void. And in this void, what happens is that they realize that that is the origin of creation. So they say that in this realm is where everything is created. This realm exists beyond any physical creation, beyond anything that exists. And then there was the light. At some point in their experience, they realize that they have full control while they are in that void, and they can start creating anything and everything they can think about. So they think about things, and they create scenes, they create environments, they create the light itself, and they realize that they are both the void and the light itself. As I say, this void is nothing negative, it's not the devil, it's not hell, it's not something like that. It's just a place before existence itself. And now when you go into some of the deeper ancient religions, you talk about the Ein Sof, the basis of Judaism. But more than Judaism is the ancient Kabbalah, the more ancient religions, and there is the Ein Sof, the first light, the first emanation of light, and it's a very similar story, and that's where the Torah comes from, and so on and so forth. So basically there was nothing, and then came the light. It was also they talk about a watery substance. They talk about realm of watery substance, and even in the ancient books, I think in the Bible or Genesis or something like that, there's something about water, and then there was the light, and there was God, something of that nature. So this is a very prominent experience for near-death experiences. This whole idea that they experience this void, specifically, they call it a velvety void, where all of creation exists and it comes beyond creation, and from this nothingness, then there was something. So a lot of what they talk about as well is that in their experience, because it is a transcendental experience where they have this extreme experience, they realize all of the mysteries of the universe. So they see how the universe was created. So a lot of what people say is that when they are in this realm, then after they realize that they can create, then they have this huge epiphany that they see all of creation happen. They see how the worlds were created. They see how universes were created. They see how the quantum world works, and so on and so forth. And they talk to beings, and they talk to, some people call it God, and so on and so forth. It's a very deep, transcendental experience. Now, if you wanna look for some of the research, as I said, I write about this, and as I've been saying in some of my latter shorts and some of latter videos, everything that I say, I back it up with science. Actually, my IRL thing that I do is writing books, tying the science with all of these altered states of consciousness and so on and so forth. And what I'm doing with this channel, what is my kind of hobby, is tying also the lores in video games and so on and so forth, especially World of Warcraft and Elder Scrolls. I think these are the lores closest to what's really going on. So if you want to have more information about this, go. If you want chill information and a good podcast, go and Google the Mara podcast, like Mara, the goddess of love in the Elder Scrolls, Mara. This is Jeff Mara. This is a guy who has, I want to say, hundreds, thousands, probably in the thousands of people who have had near-death experiences. And all of them last at least 30 minutes to 1 hour. And they all say the same thing, like they go into these out-of-body experiences. So. Now you want the scientific research, Google Sam Parnia. And all of this research that I've been doing is more or less contemporary to 2015, 2020, so on and so forth. A lot of people in the medical fields are coming forward with it. So the Sam Parnia's research is the scientific consensus statement for the future research of recalled death experiences, which is a new term that they want to attach to what were usually called near-death experiences. Basically, it is in the research. It is a bunch of different universities and different people in medical fields who are saying, yeah, we have a lot of patients who are talking about these things, and we're going to line up the main things that happens. And amongst those main things is about going out of body, going into a place that feels like home, meeting quote unquote entities. And as I said, a lot of the new research has these quote unquote entities in it. So it's quite mind blowing. So there's that. There's Raymond Moody with his near-death experience. And one of the best books, and it's probably the most important book written right now, is Evidence of the Afterlife by Dr. Jeffrey Long. So there's a lot of research about these things. The void, the velvety void, is not evil, it's not negative, it's not hell. It seems to be the place where creation emanates from, and it's beyond. It's realms outside the body, and as I've been talking about in this channel, it's about dimensions and so on and so forth. So tying the lore, I'm pretty sure at some point I might do it more gracefully when I actually have scripts and have some time for tying the lore into all of this. So yeah, the dark velvety place of creation, the well of eternity, where all the life source comes from, and that gave immortality to the night elves. Hey, you do the math. It is what it is.